The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows over the sleepy neighborhood as the heat of summer stretched lazily across the afternoon. Aarav lay sprawled on his bed, staring at the ceiling fan that moved in a slow, hypnotic circle above him. It was the perfect day for doing nothing. But then, his mother's voice cut through his peaceful reverie.
Aarav,
She called from the kitchen.
go to the market and buy some vegetables, and don't take too long.
Aarav groaned, rolling over to look at the clock. It was 2 p.m., and he had no intention of leaving the cool comfort of his room.
Why me, Ma? It's too hot to go outside.
His mother appeared at the doorway, hands on her hips, a frown tugging at her lips.
Because I said so, young man. Your father's at work, and I have things to do. Now go, and bring me some fresh coriander.
Fine, fine.
Aarav tossed his phone aside and dragged himself off the bed. The thought of walking through the sweltering streets didn't sit well with him, but he knew better than to argue when his mother had spoken. As he grabbed his wallet and stepped outside, he noticed his best friend, Rohan, hanging out by the gate, wearing his usual wide grin.
Hey, Aarav, heading to the market? Wanna join me? I need to grab some snacks for the game later.
Rohan called out, adjusting his sunglasses. Aarav shrugged.
Sure, but I'm not staying long. My mom's got me on a mission.
He sighed, rubbing his temples.
She's been on me about buying vegetables all day.
Rohan laughed.
Ah, the joys of being a son. My mom made me help clean the whole garage this morning. You should have seen it. I was practically buried under old newspapers.
He flailed his arms dramatically.
I'm still finding dust in my ears.
Aarav rolled his eyes.
You're lucky. At least you had an excuse to avoid going to the market.
Hey, look at the bright side. We're both free. No school, no homework.
Rohan grinned.
And speaking of school, guess who finally got a 10/10 on his math test? Yours truly.
Aarav raised an eyebrow.
You? Really?
Really, you should have seen the look on Miss Sharma's face. She practically had a heart attack. I was like, who said I'm bad at math?
Well, congrats, Einstein.
Aarav said with a chuckle, elbowing his friend playfully.
You better not get used to it. Next test, I'm taking the crown back.
The two of them walked side by side through the neighborhood, their steps light and carefree, as they shared stories about their latest pranks at school. They passed by the usual vendors, the warm, sweet aroma of freshly fried pakoras drifting through the air. It was another mundane day in Aarav's life. A typical, uneventful...
I still can't believe you didn't go to the game last weekend, huh?
Rohan said, nudging Aarav with his shoulder.
What's the point of being a class president if you can't make time for football?
Aarav smiled.
I had to study for that history quiz. I'm not going to let you guys outsmart me next time.
Sure, all work and no play.
Rohan teased, adjusting his backpack.
Play, but hey, you've got the whole evening to study, right?
Yeah.
Aarav chuckled. As they neared the market, they parted ways, Rohan heading to the snack aisle and Aarav toward the vegetable section. The usual noise of the market filled his ears, vendors calling out their prices, children running around, and the gentle clink of coins. The heat was stifling, but Aarav didn't mind it as much now. The trip had been fun, even with the chores hanging over him. Aarav stopped at a stall, reaching for some tomatoes. Then everything changed. A loud clang echoed through the air. The ground trembled slightly. Gasps erupted from the crowd. Right before Aarav, a massive sword had appeared out of nowhere, its blade embedded in the stone pavement, standing upright. For a moment, the world stood still. Then, the sky darkened instantly. The warmth of the sun faded as thick, swirling clouds rolled. A powerful gust of wind tore through the market, knocking over baskets and sending dust flying. Lightning flickered across the sky every few seconds, followed by low, rolling thunder. The flashes were not too intense, but they kept coming, casting brief, eerie glows over the market as if a storm was just on the edge of breaking loose. People screamed and backed away. Vendors grabbed their stalls, trying to keep them from being blown over. Aarav's heart pounded. His gaze was fixed on the sword. It was not normal. The hilt was adorned with ancient glowing markings, pulsing with a faint golden light. The air around it crackled with energy. Then he heard it. A deep, resonating voice echoed in his mind. You are chosen. His breath caught in his throat. What was that? He looked around, but no one else seemed to react. It was as if the voice had spoken only to him. His fingers twitched. Something inside him pulled him forward like an...
Aarav, wait!
Rohan's panicked voice barely registered in his ears.
Don't touch it.
But Aarav couldn't stop. With his heart pounding in his chest, he reached out. The moment his fingers wrapped around the hilt, crack! A blinding bolt of lightning shot down from the sky, striking him directly. An explosion of white-hot light engulfed the entire marketplace. People screamed. The ground shook. Aarav felt his entire body burn, an unbearable force tearing through him, pulling him away from reality itself. Then, everything went black.